And when everybody feels ready, we let our whole system slow down and come to rest. Your feet more or less 90 degrees beneath your knees in a space that is comfortable, especially if your knees are a little bit lower than the center of your hip, and your hips and thighs, lower legs relaxed. So there's just no difficulty at all moving. Keep them free, well circulated. Softening your feet, letting your toes hang to the ground. And once you feel settled and released through your legs, make certain that that settling is happening again just in front of the sitting bones. So it's pretty far forward. Maybe on most people, it's below the point where their hip crease, if they touch their hip crease here, they go straight down. More or less, that's where for most people that area is. So it's further forward than perhaps people think. And if you sit that way, and if your chair is firm enough, it will take the pressure off of your tailbone, keep you from slouching back and destroying your back. Continuing to release your legs. Soften your belly, letting go of your lower back as best you can without slumping backward or arching your back forward. Softening your back so that it opens and becomes flat rather than tight or collapsed. Make sure that your shoulders sink down over your hips, again, not rolling forward or back. Just as a recap of the basic seated posture. Avoid lifting your chest, letting it settle, letting your upper back spread open. As you soften your neck and align your head over your spine, not pushing it back, not leaning it back or pulling in your chin. Instead, you release the shoulders, the back of your neck, sides of your neck into your throat, sinking your chest, which is just to say we let it go. The crown of the head floats upward, lengthening through the neck, positioning it naturally as you continue to let go and let go. As the crown of the head floats up, continue to soften your face, your jaw, your throat, sides and the back of your neck. And with each exhalation, slowly softening down and through your body, releasing your shoulders, softening all the way through to your elbows, which hang, releasing your forearms, your wrists, your palms, all the way to your fingertips. You exhale and your chest is released, your upper back softens, your shoulder blades sink down the back. The solar plexus, your belly, sides of your waist, your lower back all release. Letting go of your glutes. Softening your thighs. You don't need them for gripping at the moment, so you simply let them go. Around the knees, the lower legs. Softening and warming around the ankles, your feet, your toes. All of that drops down through the ground, maybe a meter below the feet. Let it all fall through. A few more breaths. When you feel ready, we'll move on to softening the head and the face. Make sure that you wait until your hands feel soft, alive, and of course warm. Never use cold hands on your body if you can help it. and I'll take my headphones off in a moment, but of course, as usual, I want to welcome the people joining us for the first time. It would be best for you to start with the introductory video, which is found down below in the comment section. That will help you learn this particular set more quickly and more easily, rather than trying to muddle along with these more advanced classes. Now that we're on 82, I think, which is pretty wild. Also down below is a list of the points and the number of repetitions and the channels we're working on, and that will make it a lot easier for you to learn as well. But either way, welcome to everybody. Such a beautiful day up here. Blossoms exploding everywhere. The bright red leaf budlets that have been appearing throughout the early part of spring. They seem to wait for the equinox, and now they're just bursting into bright green color everywhere. This wonderful deep blue-green color for the fresh leaves. Just lovely. The last of winter seems to be washing away. I wanted to mention, because we have been covering the various channels on the body, that the next channel on the face that we have not covered, the face and the head, is the bladder channel. So yesterday we emphasized that dew vessel, governing vessel, that runs concurrent with the spine for the most part all the way along the front line of the body. And right next to that is the bladder channel, which one way of thinking about it is that it actually starts up here in the inner canthus of the eye, the inner corner of the eye. Isn't that funny? And so it's just a place that it runs from and moves through, and it travels up alongside the dumai, all the way up to the inner part of the eyebrow, which is one of the places that we focus during practice, all the way up and up and up along the center of the musculature that runs alongside the neck, and along the center of the musculature that runs alongside the spine. So if the spine runs through here, then on either side of that is a bladder channel. And it also has this neat quality where along the back it splits in two. So it actually runs also on the outside of that musculature that runs alongside the spine on the back. So along this line, but also the outside line. And then it consolidates again, travels down the glutes, down the backs of the legs to the little toe. But for our purposes today, because we already reviewed most of the bladder channel, we want to just know that it moves from the eye all the way up over the top of the head, down the back of the neck, in a nice straight line. It's quite easy to learn, which is one of the great reasons to focus on it today. Oh, welcome, Del. Glad you made it. So we'll cover several more of the main channels that innervate and travel across the head over time. But remember that the most important primary channels to memorize, for the most part, are in the arms and legs. They're the main way that we tend to interact with them. But for those of you trying to learn the ground level part of the energetic map of the body, it's worth learning them all. There's not that many. Hopefully throughout this 100 days, people have had the chance to ingrain them a bit more easily into their memory. Softening the shoulder when you're ready. Continue to release your hands, being easy. Waiting until you have a sense of release and opening in through this area. Connecting your awareness to this space between the musculature and the skin. Feeling that fascial layer as best you can. But in the very least, allowing your awareness to settle into the body. Becoming a little less distracted, a little less agitated, a little more present. That is the direction of healing. If you simply keep in that direction, your awareness will continue to settle into the present moment And that's where the medicine lies. That's where healing is for the mind. Soft and quiet, very gentle. When your mind wanders away, relax around the distraction. Don't chase it, don't push it away. That just makes it more likely for you to become more distracted. Just lose interest, whatever that feels like for you. And your mind will naturally drift back into the present moment, back to your body and the stimulation you are applying. If you are practicing this for a kind of body meditation, a somatic meditation, then it might be worth noticing those times that you are gone for a long time, that you wander away. And for instance, if during this entire time of doing lung 5, you've been off dreaming about something else, or just in a haze and fog, and then you come back and you say, oh, I've been away, I've been ignoring the practice, then it might be worth starting over again on this point and taking the time to let your awareness soak in. This point here, a little lower and a little lower. Large intestine, 11, 10, 9. That meditative quality, this anchoring of your awareness in the body and in the present moment, is one of the wonderful aspects of this practice. There's certain main qualities, that's one of them. Another is this development of soft, loving touch, this gentle relationship with the body, softening the hands, also softening the musculature, slowing the nervous system, and hopefully easing open this fascial layer, helping qi flow through the channels, connecting to the points. That's also part of it. Pericardium 6, Senja 5, the inner and outer gates. No more of that sense of soreness that's slowly been fading. So this practice seems to have cleared that up. And again, just to be clear, it's not because I'm pushing hard into these points. I'm very lightly touching them, just the weight of my fingers, stimulating that fascial layer, and my mind penetrates in. As my awareness soaks into that space, it fires things up, it allows qi flow to increase, and my nervous system lets me know, oh, there's obstructions here, or there's awareness here that means there's a blockage. And so just by paying attention, we start to find out what's going on inside our body. Bit by bit, we heal. And as I said, I've been getting lots and lots of wonderful reports on the healing that people have been achieving through this simple, quiet, very soft, meditative practice. And I know that for some of you, this is an especially difficult practice because of this quality of gentleness and friendliness and presence, that may be a weak spot for you. But allow me to suggest that if that is you, and I know it's at least a few of you, then recognize that that makes it an especially important practice for you. Because if you can fill in this grand weak spot, this inability to be present and quiet and loving with yourself, that heals a lot of old wounds and spaces that have been empty for a long time. And it's nice, there's no side effects. It's very easy and quiet. You just set aside the time to be loving. A reminder to make you're certain that your posture is free and comfortable. Your spine is free. Front of your body is released. Your breath is easy. Crown of your head floats up. Your legs are soft. Since today we are returning our focus to the bladder channel, mostly just to discuss this movement over the head and the neck, we want to make certain that this back of the neck is free and easy, lengthens because it decompresses, taking the pressure out of the spine, and that dumai that we talked about yesterday. But you want the whole back to be soft and easy, the musculature here released. And everyone's body is shaped slightly differently, so not everyone's back will look straight the way mine does these days. It didn't always. But you want to have a sense of that musculature and the free flow alongside the spine on both sides is open and able. Shoulder blades are free along the back. The crows are always out playing in the rain. Robins bopping around. The worms get nervous and the robins get happy in the rain. Softening all the way around. When your mind wanders away, soften it back. Think of it like tension in your mind, like you have a mental spasm. The way out is to simply learn to release that tension in the mind. Don't add more tension. Don't try to soften harder. From lung 5 to large intestine 11, 10, 9. I just say it once in a while to help people remember. Up here it was lung 1, lung 2, for the most part. Easing open, forearm, softening, releasing things lengthwise toward the fingertips. And again, just as a reminder, all of these points are listed in the document down below near the introductory class, in the comments section. So you don't have to try to memorize them. But if you aren't sure how to find them, either watch the earlier classes or simply do a search on YouTube and you'll find lots of acupuncture students explaining how to find these points. You do want to be as accurate as you can. With this said, because we are mostly just softening our awareness and letting it soak inside and using gentle touch to release these main points of connection, it's not so important, but it does increase the effectiveness to be a bit accurate. Softer and softer. Your hands warm, easy. Releasing the heart and small intestine line here. Heart 7 in particular is a wonderful point. Called the spirit gate. Joining valleys, the large intestine 4 point, allowing that to soften, letting your awareness again soak inside. Feel it spread out over that point beneath the skin. Always taking enough time to settle, waiting until you have that sense of consolidation, release, warmth, a kind of a shift that happens when your awareness sinks inside and your chi settles throughout your body. If you're still not sure what I'm talking about when I describe that, then you might want to spend even more time in these practices, settling your awareness, sinking your chi. Each practice you do should allow your mind to become more and more quiet, more and more settled and grounded in the present moment. There is no practice that is healthy that pushes you in the other direction. So look for something that allows this deep sense of peace and settled contentment. If something pushes you in the other direction, pumps you up, pushes you out of balance, it means that you are not going in the direction of health. You want to allow this deep sense of tranquility and collection, nourishment, and peace to slowly spread through your system until it transforms into something else. As a reminder, because we're softening that bladder channel, traveling down the back of the head, along the neck, in between the shoulder blades, if you pull your shoulder blades forward as we do this and up, then all you're doing is creating obstruction and congestion in your back. But instead, if as your elbows lift, your shoulder blade sinks down your back, it actually massages and releases that line. So even here, as my elbows come up a little bit, let your shoulder blades slide down your back as best you can. And we have plenty of other practices that help you release that. And that will help you with your posture rather than hinder it. Softening the solar plexus. I'm using the centers of my palms, but you can use your fingertips or the base of your thumb or anything else that helps that area to warm and let go. And then that space between the navel and the solar plexus. Ren 12. A very useful point. Zhong 1. Noticing the sense of unconditional friendliness. It's inside everybody, beneath all of the agitation, hiding in there with unconditional love and deep stillness and peace. It's all there. You don't have to create it, we just have to uncover it. So this is one of those opportunities. This friendly, kind touch is what's beneath the tension. And so by allowing us to soften and release that stuff that's beneath the tension, it's another way of us learning how to let go. Shoulder blades sinking down the back, allowing your shoulders to be free, but also that space alongside the spine. Make sure that you don't lean back or crouch forward as you lift. Instead, you lengthen. Your spine actually gets straighter and softer. The crown of your head lifts because your shoulders are softening down. And that frees your neck, which allows your head to float up even more easily. Warm and soft, feeling that layer beneath the skin, feeling inside your body just a little bit, a few millimeters. allowing your breath to feel easy and comfortable. As you soften your belly, soften the sides of your waist, your chest, your lower back, the breath becomes less hindered. You don't have to try to breathe. Trying to pull the breath in and out is a recipe for tension. Instead, you simply release everything so that the mechanism can function well on its own, getting out of the way. Much later, we do things with the breath, but it's not shaped in the way that people think. First, we have to completely get free of tension in the mind and the body, the need to control. And here, as you allow your awareness to sink inside, feeling that space between the navel and the spine. Again, let go of control of the breath. Let go of anything in the body that's holding it up and gripping it. Softer and more still is better. You cannot become too soft or too still. Like with any kind of yin and yang, Master ZhiCheng says that if you go all the way through softness, at the end of softness is a very unique kind of strength. Some new kind of capacity emerges. So we sink further and further down, letting go and letting go, to allow something more useful to arise. And that sounds esoteric, but even just for the people who have been practicing this seated posture, many of you have told me you already notice how by letting go, the head floats up. The more free my neck and shoulders become, the more my head wants to float up. So instantly we have learned that letting go to allow the head to release up is far better than trying to hold our head up. We can spend 100 years trying to hold our head up, and all we get is exhausted. We spend 100 years instead letting go, and the head is suspended on its own. It's effortless. Not only does it function better, but it feels better. Imagine applying that capacity and that rule to the entire body-mind. Find a better way. Again, we'll spend extra time here softening along this line alongside the spine. Here and here, this is the bladder channel in the back. Remember that as your elbows bend, your shoulders actually release down. It sounds strange in the beginning, but it's actually possible to soften your shoulders, and that will move your hands for you. It's a very gentle release. You can use your palms or the backs of your hands if you need to, if your wrists are tight. Allowing warmth to soak into the bladder channel here. And for reference, if you decide to look them up, at the level of the navel on the back, and the spine is the Mingmen, and the center of the muscle on either side is bladder 23, urinary bladder 23. And then off to the side of that, on this outer line of the muscle, is bladder 52. These are very healing spaces to warm and release. You can spend as long as you'd like, for instance, letting your hands and the warmth soak into the back. In my clinic, I've noticed that this is one of the more difficult places for people to learn to release, just because of a lifetime of the accumulation of stress and damage to this area. So take some extra time, allowing it to soften and release open. This is at the level of those 3 points that I was just describing, at the level of the navel. Lumbar 2, for those of you who are interested in the anatomy. Softening open across the bladder channel. The space that tends to collect and condense in the center, we want to spread it out and warm it. Much of the tension that appears in the lower back is due to weakness. So if you try to disperse it too strongly, using strong methods, you tend to simply weaken it further. So do be gentle and warming and consistent with this practice, and any kind of practice that helps to soften the lower back. And you'll get far better results than if you try to force it open with a really hard massage or something like that. It tends to just make it worse in the long run. I noticed also that many people have difficulty placing their awareness in this area of their back. People tend to be very disconnected with this part of their body. I think it's one of those spots that we never get to look at. So take extra time feeling the space, putting your awareness at least onto the surface of the skin, and again, if you can, into that layer beneath the skin. You might be surprised at what you find. Warming the tailbone. Especially if you have a history of sitting on cold things. A number of the people that I have treated over the years that have tailbone pain and lower back pain, sometimes radiating sciatica, it's because they have been sitting on cold things or getting in cold water, and the cold infiltrates these areas. And it's very difficult to get it out, and it just saps the kidney chi over years. So please keep this area warm, and if it does get cold, genuinely take the time to warm it back up until it feels toasty. If you can, never let yourself get cold unless it's easy for you to get warm again. If it's easy for you to warm back up, then for the most part, getting cold is fairly safe as long as you have the resources. But if you just let yourself get cold and that cold sort of soaks in and becomes a part of you, then it tends to cause long-term damage. So please be careful. It just is another way that people like to throw away their qi. Easing open along the legs. And then softening the thighs, the head of this side of the quadriceps, and then this side afterward. Releasing the legs. Spending extra time in any space that feels chronically painful or that it might need the extra attention. Remember to sit in a way that is comfortable for you, that supports your posture. I only sit like this, for instance, because it makes it easy for you to see which points I'm doing. But I feel no stretch right now. This area of my body is very soft, so it simply opens. But if you are somebody who finds this kind of thing uncomfortable, then please don't do it. That's not what this practice is about. I just want people to be able to see which points I'm touching. Space behind the knee. Again, with this emphasis on the bladder channel, you can run your fingers down the backs of your legs, along the hamstrings here. Hopefully you're sitting on a chair that is not, it doesn't have too strong of a lip on the chair that would dig into the backs of your legs, digging into the hamstrings, cutting into the bladder channel. It's hard to find the right kind of chair and cushion. Running your fingers down that bladder channel to the back of the knee, bladder 40. Wei zhong, softening that space. You can also grasp or pluck across the tendons on either side. That sinew should be relatively soft. Stomach 36. If you were to drag your finger along the shin bone here, and then if you place one finger at the edge of the shin bone, the tibia, stomach 36 is just on the other side of that finger. So it's one finger distance, more or less, away from that shin. So you don't want to find it too far off to the side. It's right in the center of this muscle, this shin muscle here, the anterior tibialis. Easing it open. One finger breadth away from that bone. The distance of your fingers below the kneecap, down, for the most part. Everyone's body is a little bit different. My own body, because I was born a bit deformed, the doctors had to break my legs and things to make them straight, and I was in casts and had really strong scoliosis, and so my own body is shaped a little differently. Now it's straight because qi is running through it straight, and it lengthened and straightened me out, but the bones themselves are still shaped they were when I was a kid for the most part. And so everyone has to find the points based on their body shape. I'm not always the best example because of my oddities. But you can see why I get excited about these practices. A lot of people will teach health practices who have never experienced a day of sickness. They got into teaching health practices because they themselves were just sparkling examples of people who are born and stay healthy. You know, they walk around a gym and they put on 6 pounds of muscle. We all know these people. They are not always the best people to follow because what do they know about being healthy? They couldn't not be healthy if they tried, and many of them do. I have been in relationships with these people. It's amazing to watch. And instead, if you can, try to learn from people who have been genuinely sick and then used these things to rebuild their health. I was born sick. I've only recently developed health, and it took a lifetime of finding practices and the right methods that work for me. Please do take your time and make sure that you find what works. Softening your whole body as best you can. And oftentimes people will misunderstand. When I say soft, people don't know how to soften in a way that's healthy. All people know is how to slouch or collapse. They slouch on the couch, and they get really limp, and they collapse into themselves, and they say, "Oh, I'm so relaxed." But that kind of relaxation actually causes more tension because the body is now forced to support itself and try to work extra hard to pump blood into places that are being closed off and suffocated. Instead, there's a kind of softness that allows expansion and fullness. And in the beginning, at least, it requires a good posture. And you soften around that posture. You release through your body in a way that creates openness. And this gentle opening invites what we can talk about as qi. This wonderful, buoyant fullness, just like with the neck that I was talking about, with the breath. And so even here, as I hinge from my hips, lean forward to get to my knees, I'm not collapsing, I'm not relaxing in this way. I'm being soft and I'm letting go. I'm relaxing through my structure in such a way that it allows me to be free and buoyant. So I'm not holding myself up. My legs get to stay soft. Even though I'm leaning, I continue to allow the weight to fall through into the chair. As long as I soften my belly, allow my hips to soften and my back to relax, that's actually enough to hold me up. And so the often useful word that we use is song, S-O-N-G, song. This softening into suppleness and presence. It's a kind of loosening and release that allows for this gentle filling to occur. And in the body, this song quality, this free quality, it looks like this gentle sinking, spreading, and then this filling that is a result of the proper song method. In the mind, there's a kind of song. Song in the mind is deep stillness and quiet. So if you soften your mind the way we try to practice with distractions, and you release your mind it fills with this wonderful sense of presence and clarity and this deep quiet. I know everybody's experienced that at some point. These moments of great stillness and vivid clarity. Colors are brighter, everything seems easy. Your mind is not filled with noise, and so it's crystal clear and open, like the sky. That's róng in the mind. Róng in the emotional spectrum. In the West, we say in the heart, but of course it means the heart is something different in Chinese cosmology. But in the emotional spectrum, róng is this settling into the center. Emotions no longer rush around because remember, emotions are just qi flow in the body, movement and non-movement of qi. Qi rushes up and it creates one kind of feeling. Qi rushes down and it creates another kind of feeling. And so when the emotions become stabilized, grounded, and settled and soft, there's all of this space. And that's the róng in the emotional spectrum, which of course invites this filling. And what do you fill with? You fill with this deep sense of peace, this comfort, this joyous presence, just the sheer enjoyment of being alive. You don't need anything. You're simply content. And this is róng and the different aspects of our nature. If you're ever doing a practice that pushes you in a direction that is not that, then from the perspective of this method, then you're doing the wrong practice. Remember, for those of you who's going to join us with the practice that includes lots of standing in a few weeks, make sure that you soften open your feet. Get them supple and warm, keep them warm. And every day do some work to help loosen them up, because that will help make the standing process much easier as your feet are asked to open. Same with your legs. The practice itself will help to open them, but it's nicer to use your hands in this gentle approach first. So just to sum up, in case that was confusing for people, when I say soften your body, soften your mind, soften your heart, that's what I'm talking about. Not slouching or collapsing or becoming limp, but instead finding a way to release whatever it is that's restricting the body. Letting go of the things that are filling and gripping. So there's space for something new, something better. And in this practice, we're connecting with that all-important layer just beneath the skin, this membrane space that we tend to fill with tension and obstruction. And as we soften through and open that up, that is a very important layer for qi flow, for health within these systems. And for people who practice martial arts, it's part of that which eventually generates expressions of more exciting things. But it has to come through this deep letting go. From my perspective, I'm really only interested in the healing aspect of it. Opening the feet, softening through, warm and gentle and pliant, a little better every day. A reminder to wear shoes that help your feet open. They don't force your feet into tight enclosed spaces. And please do keep your feet warm. Now that it's spring in most places, that's not such a big deal. But it should become a habit. Moving your feet, allowing them to become warm and supple. You don't have to use your hands. I'm just trying to help you see what I'm doing. Spread your toes around the bottom of your foot, waking it up. Hopefully you're doing this every day before you get out of bed. Softening your waist. Don't twist so much your neck, your chest and shoulders. Let your belly turn. It's okay to move the others. You just want to make sure that there's mostly this happening. And then taking a moment to settle. Allow your awareness to sink down. I always try to be mindful of the time. And of course, if you have plenty of extra time yourself, feel free to lie on the ground and do the teeth and tongue practices, the other stretches if you want to. Thank you, everybody. Fun to have your company. Nice to get to practice every day. Feels so good. If there are any extra questions that I haven't answered yet, please do let me know. I try to answer questions that I get within the context of the set, so I don't have to break up the flow. I hope it's working for everybody. I have to figure out how to teach this new kind of format of class. I've never taught these classes before. It's kind of strange to not have people here or be able to see anybody. Thanks, Steph. I appreciate you very much. Glad you make it so much. Oh, good. Thanks, Steph. Your feedback means a lot. Good night, everyone. All of you wild people on the other side of the world. Yeah, I hope so, Adele. Let me know if there's other aspects about it. Elizabeth is Steph. Elizabeth is her secret name, her code name. Okay. Enjoy your practice, everybody.